Everybody, welcome to the gaming golf. The gaming golf podcast. This is off to a flying start here, guys. The Byron Nelson preview this week. New course, new golfers. Some golfers that we haven't seen in a while joining us here, including Masters champion Hideki Matsuyama, Jordan Spieth, Brooks Koepka. A lot of big names kind of returning for the first time in a long time. Should be an interesting tournament a week before the PGA.
Yeah, I think so. It's hard to really get a grasp of what this is going to be. You know, the new golf course kind of throws you off. And then, like you said, there's quite a few names of interest that are resurfacing for the first time in a bit. So it feels like just sort of a weird week to try to preview. Like almost everything I think about when I'm looking at this field and looking at this week, it's like I find myself also just thinking about the context of next week and the PGA Championship at the same time. But I don't know. Conditions are ripe. You know, for betting, I think it's a fun opportunity because with unpredictability, I think comes the chance for surprise. And so I think that's one thing to look out for this week is going under the radar. So that's where I found my mind drifting to as I tried to dig through this, is just be ready for a surprise this week, I think.
Yeah, I found it a fascinating DraftKings week, as we'll get into the prices, because you have like usually in a field like this, you're like, oh, there's a couple of guys, but you have some super elites in this field, then you have some second tier guys, and then it just drops off in a massive way. Like we'll talk about it, but like the 8,000s in there are players you never see that high. Usually guys are in low sevens. Like there's just this huge void in the middle, and they have to move up guys in the price range somewhere. So there's a huge void in the middle. You got some elites, you got some good players, and then it drops off to just a huge pack of guys. Getting 6 out of 6 this week is going to be really hard. You got 156 guys in the field. You have a lot. You're going to have to play guys in the low sevens and the mid sevens. If you get 6 out of 6 through this week, I think it's going to be like a 4 to 5% kind of week. You're going to do really, really well in DFS.
I have one unrelated question just regarding sponsorships. They're not a sponsorship of the podcast, but I'm going to be drinking a Canada Dry ginger ale during the show. I had a little Kung Pao chicken for lunch, and there's no way I can get through this show without some sort of drink. So Canada Dry, not a sponsor. But I'm gonna need to go to this a few times here and there during the next half hour.
I like it. Keep working on. Hey, Canada Dry. Too bad. Well, we're not
refreshing. Very refreshing. Not being paid to say that. Refreshing drink after lunch. Enjoying it. Not a sponsor.
Excellent. We're hustling every bit we can. Okay, let's look at.
It's too bad Corey Connors is not playing this week. He'd be an easy pick for you then with the Canada connection.
That's true. Picked him enough this year already.
That's true. And you can't. And no answer. There's no answer key this week. So what are we going to do about that?
It was close last week, though.
Yeah, it was. But I'm just saying we don't have that as an option, alas, unfortunately. Okay, so let's start off, though. I think the big thing is we got a brand new course this year. It's not brand new to like the world, but brand new to the tour, TPC Craig Ranch. What do we expect out of this golf course?
Well, I think the cynic in me, just thinking about how the PGA works, I think we can expect shorter commute times to the nice hotels, which I think is one of the reasons why we're out of Trinity Forest and closer to civilization with this move. But I don't know. For me, just reading about it, I don't know much about the course. We've been like a lot of us just trying to read as much as I can. I've never seen it. To me, it's shaping up to be almost like a stock par 72, drivable par 5s. Greens are not particularly large. They're not particularly fast. So, you know, I guess I started looking for ball striking as opposed to putting. That was one way. Right. And then, you know, going down the list, just looking for guys that are on form or who just need something this week. So.
Yeah, I watched a YouTube video of like a flyover of the course just to kind of get a feel, and it looks like there's a creek that kind of crosses in and out of the course over most of the holes, so there could be some water in play. But I think stock 72 is a pretty good way to put it. These par 5s look fairly scoreable. I think we're probably looking at like a minus 16 to minus 20 somewhere in there is the winning score. It looks like a lot of wide fairways, but some distance on it, almost 7,500 yards, so a pretty long course. But I think if you comp some other TPC Tom Weiskopf courses, you probably get a pretty good idea of what you're going to get this week.
Okay, well, let's jump right into the player pool then. For one other note. Unlike last week, weather should not be an option. It should not be a big issue. Last week, obviously, at the Wells Fargo, if you did the late Thursday, early Friday set of tee times, you had a huge advantage in terms of making the cut.
Yeah, that was almost like a British Open style cut, right? It was really like morning wave, afternoon wave. That was something. So
to the point that Bryson flew home because he thought he had missed the cut until everything turned around. That was pretty wild that he had to do that.
Yeah, exactly. Good to have that wherewithal to just be able to. Oh, I'll just turn it around, no problem. But here we go. Okay, let's look at the player pool. Bryson is one of the big names in the pool. He's the most expensive golfer now that DJ has pulled out with a knee injury. Third withdrawal this season for Dustin Johnson. This time, at least, we have a reason. But DeChambeau, John Rahm are the two guys in the 11,000s. With this stratified lack of a middle tournament roster, all right, would you pay up for one of these two guys? Scott, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, I think for sure. It's a matter of who you want to pay up with. I think almost every team is going to start with Bryson, Rahm, or Jordan Spieth at 10, 7, 11, and 11, 2. Just a matter of which one you want to go with. I think that kind of makes it interesting if you wanted to drop down a little bit. I think Daniel Berger is super interesting to me. Him and Hideki Matsuyama at 10-3 and Berger at 10-1 might get forgotten a little bit. You've got this top group of elites that everybody's going to want to play one of them. You drop down, you have Will Z, Fitzpatrick, you have Scheffler. I think is from a kind of a game theory DFS perspective that the Berger Matsuyama guys will be really interesting. If I had to go one at the top, I think I'm probably going back to Rahm. I just worry a little bit about Bryson's irons right now. His approach was really rough last week, but he putted really, really well. That's how he kind of got back into the tournament, gained a ton of strokes putting. I know Rahm missed the cut. It was a bad Thursday. He played pretty well on Friday. Kind of was bad around the greens and putting on Thursday. But, I think we talked about him a bunch last week, how good the stretch has been for the last year or year and a half. If I'm going at the top, I'm going Rahm definitely over Spieth and probably a little bit over Bryson.
See, it's funny to just like shy away from Rahm 1 week after we touted his incredible consistency and this run of top tens, this year. But I find myself I lean Bryson over Rahm. And I feel like this is now the time for Bryson. The fact that he flies, just ridiculous. He's also like, not only is he the king of the long drive on tour, he's the king of content in the media world. Everything he just can't help himself from doing something that creates interesting stories for us in media. But I don't know. I felt like that backdoor top 10, there's some things come together. And if Bryson is putting well or well enough, and he gets on a golf course where length becomes once again an advantage, and what I'm reading is we've got 4 par 5s that are all reachable in 2. So, those are 4 eagle opportunities per round for Bryson. I don't know. I circled him as my number one favorite this week, even over Rahm. And then I bumped down to Scheffler as my second choice. What is it about Texas? We all do it, right? We just think, oh, it's Texas, it's windier. You just kind of lean Texans in Texas, but there is a track record there. It certainly has worked with Spieth over the years. So I found myself starting my teams, Bryson, Scheffler, and then into that kind of unearthing hidden gems area of the pool.
Sure. I'll say this, by the way, we're kind of bearing the lead on Spieth a little bit. And that is he had COVID and, he took this whole time off since the Masters, in part because he was recovering from it. It wasn't awful for him. He said for 1 or 2 days it was pretty bad. And then after that, it was just annoying was the quote. But he's been off this whole time.
Yeah, I would have thought he would have gotten his Pfizer vaccine without. I don't know. I actually didn't read that yet. Did that just come out today? I didn't see.
It did. And so I saw that on Twitter, so therefore it must be true. But there's like 3 or 4 I should give credit to the writer that was tweeting it out, but that was kind of a big deal there, and that's why. But he was missing because he had such momentum. You would think that he wouldn't want to take that time off, but he did.
Yeah, the PGA Tour tweeted out his press conference. He definitely talked about having the COVID there, but for me, it's just a price thing. I just think that he's playing exceptionally well, but off the layoff, off the COVID. If I'm going up just a few bucks, I'm going Rahm. I'm going Rahm and Bryson this week over him.
Right.
One question, in addition to Canada Dry as the unofficial sponsor, is there like a Craftsman Power Tools sponsorship out there for us right now?
Well, that is not my fault, just so we're clear.
if the tournament were in Houston, we could make some sort of joke about signaling who I should be picking and all that. No, I just having work done in the house and just playing through.
It's a good buzzsaw sound effect, though. It's like,
well, yeah, we're getting floors put in, so
Right.
the laminate put in over the floors, as the case may be. But anyways, let's move on. We haven't talked to Hideki yet. I mean, this is his first tournament since winning the Masters. 10-3 on DraftKings. Probably not the greatest odds you're going to get for betting him. Are you interested in him?
It's tough for me. I love Hideki, but off this layoff, I think I go down a couple $100 to Berger. I really like Berger this week. Played really well his last tournament, RBC Heritage, gained 6 strokes tee to green, 5.5 on approach. I just think that it's a good spot for Berger, both in betting and DFS, because I think he's going to get a little overlooked in DFS. You give him a nice percentage. I kind of like the theory of going with Berger and one of the guys in the nines, kind of like Jeff was saying with Bryson and one of the guys in the nines. I think you go Berger, one of the guys in the nines, you may be able to get someone else a little bit higher sevens in there before you get down to the dart throwing. So I always like Hideki, but I prefer Berger this week if we're going head to head in those the same salary.
And for me, it's an auto fade for the first event back for a player after winning their first major. And Hideki, especially, not to take nothing away of his talent or desire to win this week, but I mean, he went on a world tour. It was just a seismic, deal in his home country. His life is different now, and so I just think this is sort of like a return to normalcy event. And I just, could he just keep the run going and top 5 or win this thing? It wouldn't be shocking. But for me, more often than not, I think that's just like the biggest moment of someone's life, the first event back. Things are a bit off, and so I would fade Hideki and find someone else in that price range this week.
Yeah, I could see the logic behind that there. Okay, let's move on as best one can here and talk about some of the guys in the nines. That way, if you're going to go Berger and a guy in the nines, Jeff, you mentioned Scheffler as your guy. Scott, who's your guy in the nines?
It's funny because we got this field in like 9-4 is kind of the spot where I really feel it drops off. I mean, I like Sam Burns. He won for us a couple weeks ago, but paying 9-3 for Sam Burns is not what I'm going to do. Leishman's 9,200. I think Ryan Palmer is going to be popular. He holds the course record of this course, and he is a Texas guy, and he plays well in Texas. He's 9,100. If you're going to get someone that high, that's going to be that high percentage, and it's Ryan Palmer, I'm going to fade that every time. So I'm just going to be avoided from that. If I lose to the chalk on that one, I'm okay losing there. But I like Scheffler. I like Matthew Fitzpatrick playing really well. If you take this field over the last 50 rounds, he's number one in shot gains in putting. So he's really putting the ball well, striking it pretty well too. He's 18th in tee to green. Will Z is the interesting one, 9,700. And everybody loves Will Z. I do too, coming off that Masters tournament, but the last couple tournaments, he's not played quite as well. So I think that's enough for me to get off him. I either go up to Berger or down to Fitz or Scheffler. I think I'm away from Will Z this week. In a week, I think he'll be popular.
Yeah, Scheffler's my top pick in the 9,000s, but there's just one more. And I don't know. I like the Ryan Palmer pick if you can make it work. But then there's also stealth Texan Sergio Garcia. As at least worth a mention here, who's quietly having a pretty good year. I don't know. I could see a scenario where you could fit 9,000 as a price tag. I could see, him fitting in a few lineups here and there, especially if you start top heavy. So don't sleep on Sergio. It's a home game for him.
It is. It is. He's playing all the Texas tournaments too. I love it. Okay, and I only love it because I got him on my team this year. So it wasn't even like I was seeking him out. All right, let's talk about the disappearing middle class. The guys in the 8,000s here. Jason Day, 89. Siwoo Kim, 88. Harris English, 87. Tomas Peters, 86. People might not expect to see that name there. He's only played 4 tournaments on the tour. Lee Westwood, 85. Luke List, 84. Aaron Wise, 83, who's won this tournament. Obviously a different course. Matt Kuchar at 82. Charles Schwartzel, didn't expect to see him that high at 81, but here we are. And Cameron Champ at 8,000. I'm going to throw out, Siwoo. I mean, it's at the higher end of this range, but I like what I've seen a lot out of him. I mean, I think he can putt with the rescue club. I mean, he's versatile. You got to like him.
Yeah, there's only 2 guys in this range that I'm considering playing, and I actually like both of them a lot this week. The first is Siwoo. I'm with you on that one. 4 straight made cuts, 3 top 25s in that range, and a 12th at Augusta. Struggled in February, but hitting the ball really well now. He gained tee to green and approach the last 3 tournaments. Then the Masters in there. We don't have the all the shot gain metrics in there, but played really well there, obviously. And then Tomas Peters at 8,600. I'm in on that. I'm hoping that people think he's overpriced. He finished top 15 his last 2 Euro events in February and March, finished top 15 in both his events in the PGA Tour, but they were both alternate events. I do get that. It was Punta Cana and Puerto Rico, but he's made the cut in 10 of his last 11 PGA events. He's a guy that I think you can get down here that can actually win this tournament, which is hard to find the rest of this range. There's nobody under 8,600 between all those names you mentioned. Nobody else I play in this range, but I do like Kim and Peters a lot this week.
I'm still keeping an eye on Schwartzel. I liked him a lot more at 7,500 or 7,000, like it was a couple weeks ago when I first mentioned him. But keeping an eye on him because he keeps cracking top 10s. But I don't really like the 8,000 price. I think for me, like you guys said, Siwoo, for all the reasons that you just mentioned, would be the one guy I'd look at. Otherwise, I just found myself, I had more fun just kind of picking off the bottom of the board this week and trying to figure out how to go full in on stars and scrubs.
Yeah, finding those 7,000s is going to be absolute gold this week. You're going to try and you have to get guys through the cut. You want to play these top guys. I think the 7,000 is where the money is going to be made this week in DFS.
Right. I agree. But before we do that, I'll be remiss, and I was remiss in not mentioning Keith Mitchell. Finished tied third last week, was the leader going into Sunday. Drained a big putt on 18 to keep that tie for third. Any thought on him going forward? Is he just kind of a lightning in the bottle guy, or is there something we can build off of here?
He played out of his mind last week. I mean, you look at his shot gain stuff; it was off the charts. But then the week before, he just putted so badly at Valspar, but he's hitting the ball well. Yeah, I think if you want to sneak him in, he's hitting it really well right now. It's just a matter of if he putts pretty well, he'll make the cut. If he doesn't, he'll be long gone. But he's strictly if he's hot with a putter guy for me.
I've just started to aid my own fantasy team on this show. Usually it's worked out, although this past week it was couldn't have gone more the other way. Rory, Hovland, and Mitchell are all members of my squad, my usually underperforming squad. So I don't know. I mean, I took Mitchell on my team because he's had a little success on tour. I believe he's a winner. I think
he is because I had him.
Palmer, right?
He won for me the last time I won this league. Actually,
2 years ago, right? As a winner,
he won the Honda in 2019.
Yeah, that was nice.
I was thinking it was Arnold Palmer, but that's right. It was Honda. So I was going to say, sort of like for guys just on their way up, sometimes it's that first taste of the lead on Sunday can throw you off the next event. But Mitchell's been there before, so that's a good call to keep an eye on him again this week because that's still a low price for a guy that, he was right there at a big time tournament with a great field. So he might be worth a look again.
Let's look at the 7,000 range. It's a huge range, by the way, too. There's a lot of guys in the 7,000s. That happens when you don't have that many $8,000 guys, and these are guys that are getting pushed up too, for that matter. Let's break it in half. Let's go 7,500 to 7,900 first, starting at the top. Taylor Gooch 79, Alex Noren 79, Ortiz, Howell at 78, Knox, Ricky at 77. Wow, those are. How the mighty are falling. Munoz, Uline, Rosner at 76. Gim, Villegas, and Stallings at 75. What jumps off the page to you guys?
I liked Gim. I just pulling up some stats. I just thought there's a guy that's held back by his putter usually. Ball striking is pretty good. Seen him flash, on leaderboards here and there, and you just, I don't know, when you get down to 7,000s, it's sort of just give me a reason, and we'll see if we're right. And yeah, I think he's quietly starting to put something together, and I just think his weakness will be mitigated this week by the fact that no one's putted these greens. So I just, for me, he was one that I circled, and I also circled Gooch as another guy who's just quietly plugging along, making cuts, making a little noise, and at 7,900, maybe it's his time. This feels like a week. I will say this feels like a week where we're going to get a first-time tour winner, as much as any that we've had, in the time of our podcast. This to me feels like look out for an off-the-board pick.
I fully agree with you on a game, except for the part where you said quietly. I think he's going to be insanely high percentage this week. I think he sticks out in this range to a huge game. People in DFS love Gim as it is. If you look at this field, I mean, he's priced down 7,500, so that's, way down the field. But in this field, last 36 rounds, he's 11th tee to green, he's 9th in ball striking, and he's 3rd in approach. He is an elite ball striker among this field. It's just the fact that he has lost strokes putting the last 6 weeks. He's a horrible putter, really strong everywhere else. He's gained stroke and approach 10 weeks in a row, pretty crazy stretch there. It just comes down to the fact where, you're 7,500. Do you want to pay the chalk here on a guy that, may putt himself out of this tournament? Or do you want to hope that he putts average and he has a chance to be a top 10 guy? So it's It's always tough in this range when you get someone that's really, really popular. Do you eat that chalk? Do you try and find a pivot away from him? If you're going to pivot in this range, I like Taylor Gooch. I'm with you with there, Jeff. He finished well last week at Wells Fargo. He's made 5 of 6 cuts. I also think Charles Howell III at 7,800 is kind of interesting. He's made 5 of 6 cuts, gained strokes off the tee in 6 straight, around the green 5 straight. So he's hitting the ball well. If you're trying to get away from Gim, I think CH3 works well. Peter Uline's made 5 straight cuts, but just a matter of kind of game theory and how you want to build your lineup. If you do have Gim, I think maybe you go a little bit different at the top to try and be a little different there.
So are you going to build away from Gim?
I'll probably mix it up in lineups. Where I go Bryson or Rahm, I think I'll go away from Gim. But if I go a Berger as my top guy and I'm a little less higher percentage of the top, then I'm a little more comfortable going with Gim in the middle. You don't have to be different everywhere. You just have to be different somewhere, and it's a good way to look at it.
Okay. Let's move on to the second half of the 7,000s because we're going to need to get some guys there and even lower perhaps. Van Rooyen, Moore, Snedeker, Ben Martin are all at 74. Desire, Straka, Perez, Redmond at 73. Hoagie, Vegas, CT Pan, Martin Laird, Catlin, who's won 3 times in the European Tour but hasn't been played over here, all at 72. And then Hahn, Shank, Piercy, Wesley Bryan, Patrick Rogers, all at 71. Wyndham Clark, we mentioned him last week. Higgs, Lewis, Chappell, Power, Vincent Whaley, good call last week, Scott, on him. He made the cut.
Actually, that was nice at 6,400. That was nice.
Yeah, that was a nice guy. They're all at 7,000 this week. Are you going to go back to the well on Whaley? Who else are you looking at this week?
I have 3 guys I really like in this range. The first is Johnny Vegas at 7,200. Yeah, he was really good off the tee last week. Struggled around the green. Hopefully he can fix that a little bit. He's lost strokes putting the last 3 tournaments, but he's made 7 of 8 cuts. And like I said, I'm looking for guys who make cuts down here. In this field, he's 17th in ball striking. He's 7th off the tee, so some really good ball striking metrics. You compare him to the rest of the field over the last 36 rounds. Snedeker's interesting. He's finished 6th, 42nd, and 11th the last 3 weeks. He's hitting it well. Then last week it was kind of back to the typical Brent Snedeker all putting. And then I like Wyndham Clark again. 7,000, made 3 cuts in a row. Hit the ball really well. He was good around the greens last week. He struggled in Florida, and he played really well in January and February. So I'm hoping maybe the Florida swing, which is not his cup of tea, and he's back this week. So if I'm going 7,000. I'm probably going him over Whaley, although Whaley's now made 7 straight cuts. So if you want to make a cut, he's been good at that.
Jeff, what say you?
He's a buzzsaw, you might say. Craftsman, not a sponsor.
Very cutting joke there.
Not a sponsor of the show.
Way to pound that one home.
Oh, no.
I had flagged Wyndham Clark. Scott, you mentioned him. I don't know if it was last week or 2 weeks ago, but he would be a guy of interest to me. I also circled Patrick Rogers as another guy. He's been a bit hit or miss, but down in this range, I think he's hit a bit lately in terms of making cuts. Just a guy I've been kind of watching. I've had him on my fantasy teams here and there over the years, waiting for this guy to break out. Maybe it's this week, but I like Wyndham Clark a lot from that range of players.
Okay, and let's dip into the 6,000s. I'm not going to read off the names. You guys just tell me what you've dug up.
The 6,000s are tough this week. There's not a lot of names I dug up, and I realized that I was going to have to play guys in the 7s. But the one guy who kind of jumped out to me a little bit, if you're looking for kind of a recent form guy and a little bit of spark, is Hank Lebiota. He was 13th at Valspar and 51st last week at Wells Fargo. But you look at last week, gained 6.9 shots tee to green, 6.2 on approach, hit the ball really well, just putted terribly. He lost 5.2 shots on the green, but putted well the week before in Valspar. He's a guy to me that's just hitting the ball well, and you're reaching for anything in this range, and he was the one guy at 6,900, the guy that I think I'm going to have a couple teams just based on form the last couple weeks, and you're kind of looking for anything down here, and that was enough for me.
Yeah, I looked. Sung Kang is your defending champion at this event. Different course, 2 years ago, but it's still Sung Kang. I circled Satoshi Kodera. Circled him as someone who's playing pretty well recently. And then I don't know. I thought if you're just looking for guys who could make the cut and it'd be fun to root for, I flagged a couple of the Walker Cup guys from last week. Cole Hammer had clinched the winning point for the team, so he's riding high into this event.
Fits well in today's theme too. So there you go.
Yes.
Are all of them over the stomach flu yet?
I don't know. Well, the other one, Strafacci, the USAM winner from a couple of years ago, he was hospitalized. So he's in the field. So I circled him too. Maybe it's a redemption week, but I don't know. Walker Cup guys, they have the energy of a win, and they got some friends around them out there this week. Why not make a cut and see where it goes from there? So I circled both of those two names down in the lower end.
All right, very good. How about on the betting side of things here? Where is their value? What's the fade this week? Jeff, we'll start with you, then we'll go to Scott.
Well, I think to me the top is so top heavy. When there's no middle, it's tempting to still take a couple shots at the top. You just feel even better about it. So I've already mentioned Bryson. I see him 9-1 on golf odds. I'm in. I would still do that. Those are extremely low odds for a golf tournament, but just speaks to how there's no middle to help kind of suck some of that money out down the board. Scheffler 20-1 is interesting. Gooch 60-1 is interesting, and I would probably say, it's really all the guys I've talked about before. I don't really see anything, I guess, on the board in terms of odds that feels that doesn't sort of fit the picks that I was looking at in DraftKings. So those are the first names I'd look at.
Yeah, the betting card was close last week. We had Hovland, we had Wallace. They both finished top 6. So we didn't have Rory, but we were really close to hitting another one. Jeff mentioned the top of the board. There's 3 guys that are 12-1 or under, it's really tough. I think I'm going to stay away from the top. As much as any of those guys could run away with this, I'm going to stay away. My betting card is going to look like I'm going to start with Daniel Berger at 17-1. I think you get a little bit of a break from the top guys, but the game is almost as close. Then I'm going to drop down a little bit to the middle range. I'm definitely going to go bet Siwoo Kim at 45-1. I really like that price. When you compare that to his DraftKings price, it's way off. And then Tomas Peters, 70-1. He's, like he said, he's 8,600 DraftKings. I think he's playing. He's got the game to actually win a tournament. So I'm going to go there. And then a couple bucks on a couple of long shots. Taylor Gooch, I actually have at 80-1. Jeff mentioned him at 60-1. He's 81 on DraftKings Sportsbook. And then a couple bucks late on Johnny Vegas, 125-1. Maybe trying to hit something there. But my favorite plays are Berger, Kim, and Peters. 17, 45, and 70-1. I think those are really good odds on especially Kim and Peters.
Excellent. I'm scribbling those names down now. I like it. I want to close with talking a little Rory real quick. We barely mentioned him, and last week. He won. He wasn't on our card, but I think there's a concept here. What could go right? This is a guy that's been a stud before. What could possibly go right? Is there someone in the field like him that's been struggling? We've seen it with Spieth earlier this year. We saw on the women's tour. We saw it now with Rory last week, where he kind of put it all together. Maybe he took some time off. Is Koepka maybe that guy? Although he won earlier this year, so maybe that's not a fair count. But is there someone in the field that could be that guy?
It's Ricky, right? Isn't he the guy that seems the most lost out of this group in terms of
It's not Ricky.
But that would be the profile of the guy that you've just said enough is enough. I think I might have almost word for word said I'm just going to be a week late on Rory at this point because it just seems so lost and then all of a sudden there it is. And it was a reminder, I think, that just the elite player. No matter how lost they seem, they're not as far away as the kind of next tier of players right below them. So I don't know if you're just looking for a player profile of someone who's had a kind of a taste of the top of the game and is just seemingly drifting. Ricky Fowler is just out at sea. I don't know if this is the week, but that's the right profile in terms of just
I've got one other suggestion for you.
I do too, but you go.
What about Jason Day?
That was mine.
All right. Former elite player, missed the last 2 cuts, but we've seen that, when he turns it on, he could still be elite. It's been a long time since he's won, and no one's talking about him, and and he's very affordable.
And I think I prefer it to Ricky because he's actually shown some flashes this year. He finished 7th at Pebble, and then he played really well at the Players. He hit the ball great at the Players in March, but he lost 7.7 shots on the green. So he was a horrible putter that week, and usually not. You look at his numbers, he's usually a pretty good putter. I think Jason Day fits that elite player playing poorly right now, but enough flashes this year that I think he's someone that fits the Roy profile. I want it to be Ricky so badly, but man, he just is so lost.
He is. I'll say this: Jason Day is likable too. Yeah. I really like Jason Day a lot as just a player, as someone I like to root for. I mean, how much do we really know these players? Jeff probably knows them a little bit better than I do, but I find him very rootable.
Is from my limited experiences with him, he's phenomenal. Just very down-to-earth guy. Talk to him about anything, just a normal dude with seemingly a pretty normal and stable life outside of golf as well, grounded and like you said, very, very easy to root for. It's not always nice when you meet some of these guys on the beat and the fans you were pulling for them before, and then you meet them and go, oh, okay, great. Now I really like the guy. Jason Day is certainly one of those.
Yeah, he's one of my 4 or 5 favorite players. There was a book, and I'm going to forget what the name it was, but it was about guys chasing Tiger, and they had a chapter on Jason Day, and it made me from a kind of a fan to a big fan, as I really like J Day.
Let's finish with a smooth finish, much like the belt sander outside my room here, and get your one and dones here. Scott, you first.
Yeah, it's tough this week. I was trying to look at who I've taken because I would have gone Berger, but I've taken him already, so I think I dropped down a little bit. I think I'm going to say Bryson's an interesting one, right? Because we get to the tournament where you want to use your elites for the big money purses, but his chances to win this tournament are so much higher than a full field tournament because there's so many less guys. But I think I'm actually going to drop down to Siwoo Kim for one and done. That's if I'm looking at who I have left. I think I'm going to go Siwoo as a bet and a one and done this week.
I'm currently in 28th place in our one and done pool out of about 40 or so entrants. So I got to make a move. So I'm going Bryson this week. I'm going to burn him. I would love to, if I could get odds in a sports book somewhere, I would love to try to bet Bryson to win back-to-back weeks. That would be a fun bet that I would like to try to explore if that's out there somewhere.
It is. You just all you got to do is you just do a parlay between the two, and you can actually do it. So you probably get. I think he's 12-1 at the PGA right now, and 9-1 this week. So whatever, someone with better math skills than me could put that together. But it'd be a nice payoff.
That's a bet I'm interested in, Jeff.
Very good. Very good. I talked him up earlier. I'm going J-Day. I'm rooting for him here. I'm going to go Narrative Street and just go that route because out of 47 places, I think I'm 70th. So I used Rahm last week. I used Patrick Reed the week before. I used Bryson when I think he got eliminated in match play in the first round. So I'm dead already. So might as well swing for the fences.
Yeah, but the funny thing about one and done is randomly you hit 2 winners in 4 weeks and suddenly you're not so dead anymore. It's such a fun format that way.
Yeah. Well, it's either J-Day or I'll go Berger, who I still have. So those are my 2 choices there. So we'll see. Stay tuned. I know you'll be just riveted waiting to find out what happens there.
I want to know about the floors. You got to keep us posted on that project.
Oh yeah, I'm sure I'll copious photos too.
Are you putting in a Boston Garden parquet floor in your living room? Because that'd be kind of cool.
No, we're not. We're just laminate on top of flooring, but it's okay. And the longer my wife works from home, the more stuff we have done to our house. So
are you at least putting a Northwestern logo somewhere on the floor too?
Yeah, that would go over well. It's a RotoWire logo, of course. And
even better. Even better.
Yeah. All right, we'll close with that. Thanks everybody for listening to Gaming Golf, our Byron Nelson preview. Good luck in your tournaments. Good luck in your DraftKings lineups, and let's bring home a winner this week. Take care.